Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Flock's Nest Sports Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Brendan, Urban 54, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks. Today, we have an amazing video for today. We'll be previewing the Seahawks versus Commanders Sunday night football game. Should be a great game in Washington. Obviously, with it being Sunday night football, it is in prime time. Always good to get a prime time game for the Seahawks. So let's get right into this. We'll start with the injury report, as it is a lengthy one this week. Really unfortunate. Got some bad news to start us off. The Seahawks have placed starting safety Julian Love and Eric Saubert both on injured reserve. Obviously not great. Both of those are going to have to miss a minimum of 4 games. Really unfortunate for Julian Love. Was supposed to come back this week. And then had a setback with his hamstring injury, so he's not going to play. And then Eric Saubert is hitting IR with a calf injury that'll keep him out for a minimum of 4 games. So not great, really unfortunate there. But that's the bad news. Good news for the Seahawks is they are going to get back Devin Witherspoon and Robbie Oots. Oots was activated off of IR, so that's great. Love to hear that. With that, he's activated, taking one of the spots opened up by Eric Saubert and Julian Love on the 53-man roster. The other one is the Seahawks signed Jarek Reed to the 53-man roster. So their 53-man roster is set again with Reed getting the spot opened up by Julian Love. And then let's get into the injury report on the Seahawks side. Pretty lengthy. I already mentioned no Julian Love, no Eric Saubert. Jake Bobo has been ruled out with an Achilles. It is not a tear. They're not sure the significance of this. It happened during practice. So unfortunate. They don't expect him to be out long term, but that is someone that's going to miss the game. Derek Young is the other one ruled out. So 2 wide receivers, both special teamers, have been ruled out already. Derek Young obviously has a quadricep. Did that during the game. Again, during the last game. So both of those not great. Missing starting safety, a rotational tight end, and then 2 special teams receivers. So not great there. On the questionable list is Cooper Kupp, who I don't expect to play. He did not practice on Friday. So I'm not leaning towards him playing. This is a heel and hamstring injuries. Both happened, I believe, during practice. Hopefully this doesn't keep him out long term. He's just I don't expect him to play this week. The other one listed as questionable is Deron Reed. I do expect him to play this week. He was a full participant on Friday after being limited the first 2 days with a wrist injury. I expect him to play. I don't expect that to be an issue. So that's at least good. So in my opinion, going into the game, the Seahawks will be without 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a safety. So obviously, as I mentioned, they bring Robbie Utes back in. He fills in one of those tight end roles. Obviously, he's a fullback, but he can kind of help at the tight end position. They also have Nick Callerup, who's still on the lineup. I think he can come in and get some snaps. He's a good blocking tight end, and that's what Eric Saubert was good at. So I think that at least is taken care of. Safety-wise, they did bring in Jarek Reed. We've already seen Ty Okada and all these guys step in with Love out and have looked fine. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. Obviously, I would love Love back. I would love Love back. Just because that does complete the secondary. And then with the 3 wide receivers that I am expecting to miss, the Seahawks are calling up from the practice squad for Sunday Cody White and Ricky White. I expect both of those to play big roles on special teams, especially Ricky White. Ricky White was a special team star in college. So I expect both of those to come in and just kind of fill in on the secondary. I think Cody White will probably get more attempts in the passing game than Ricky does. But that's just a guess. I'm not 100% sure. but that's my guess. On the Commander side, for the injury report, not as lengthy. They have Terry McLaurin ruled out and Colson Yankov, a tight end, ruled out. Both of them are not going to play. And then on their questionable side, they have John Bates, Jerzon Newton, and Laramie Tunsil. So that's a tight end, defensive tackle, and their left tackle. I'm not sure. As of now, I would lean towards one or two of them playing. All I would not expect Newton to play. He did not participate 2 of the 3 days and then was limited in the other one. Don't expect him to play. I think Bates has a decent chance to play. And then Laramie Tunsil, in my opinion, is about a 50-50. So as it stands, I would expect probably 2 of the 3 of them to play. But it'll definitely be interesting to see on game day. Other than that, everyone else for both teams are good to go. So that's all fine and dandy. All right. What am I looking for this game? Obviously, the Seahawks are shorthanded on the offensive side of the football. Not really sure what they're going to do there. You obviously are going to miss Cooper Kupp and Eric Saubert in the run game. They are incredibly good blockers for their position. I think we're going to notice that absence in terms of being able to block on the edge and get good runs going that way. I will say I do think overall, I think Callerup can fill in for Saubert, and I think having Robbie Oots back will definitely help as a fullback and as someone that can be a lead blocker. I think both of those are going to be key in this game. And then on the wide receiver side of things, it's a struggle for me. You do still have JSN, who's been tearing it up, has been probably one of the best wide receivers in the league this year. And then you do have Torrey Horton, who I think has been playing good, but Torrey Horton as your second option is not great. So I don't know who's going to fill in as the third option behind him. I would expect it to be Cody White. They do also have pretty much him and Ricky White as the options. So I expect the tight ends to be more involved this week, being AJ Barner and Arroyo. I expect Arroyo to be a real threat this week, just because I think he has a really good receiving ability. And with how it stands right now, they're going to need the tight ends to step up in the passing game. I will say, this Washington Commanders defense isn't great. They struggle over the middle. I hate to say it. My boy Bobby Wagner, currently on the Commanders, has been looking old. He's been slow. He hasn't been able to keep up in coverage as well. And the Commanders have been playing him every snap. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, the Seahawks are going to have to take advantage of Bobby Wagner being out there. They have to be able to throw it to the tight ends up against AJ Barner because he's not going to be able to, or up against Bobby Wagner because he's not going to be able to keep up with them. He's not going to be able to keep up with AJ Barner. He's not going to be able to keep up with Arroyo. They're going to have to take advantage of that matchup. I think in terms of the wide receivers, the secondary isn't great either. I expect JSN to still have a good day. He's going to have to. I don't necessarily like what's behind him. I think Torrey Horton might be able to have a good day. But beyond that, this wide receiver core is kind of decimated. So let's hope that they can get it done with that. I think, thankfully, the offense might not have to do as much, but they're still going to have to be there. This is not a great defense, so hopefully the offense can just get going, run the ball, hit in play action, get it to JSN, get it to Arroyo, get the tight ends involved, and they should have an easier time with this game. On the defensive side, I'm not really worried about Love being out. Obviously, we have Okada playing pretty well in his stead. They still have Kobe Bryant. Nick Emenwari's looked great. Getting Witherspoon back is huge. That'll help a lot just with how they move around the secondary. Obviously Witherspoon, one of the premier corners in this league, should be great. Be interesting to see what they do with that corner situation. Is Woolen part of their long-term plans? If so, I think he'll be on the field. But it's hard to say considering that how good Nick Emenwari's been in the slot. I expect Witherspoon to play outside a little more this game. And if that's the case, then they have to pick between Josh Jobe and Woolen. And it'll be interesting to see who they pick. In my opinion, they pick Job. Job has just been the better player this season, but it'll be interesting to see how many snaps Woolen gets, and that'll kind of tell you if he's really a part of the long-term plan with this team. My guess is he's not. But I think this is the week we find out officially what we're seeing from this secondary going forward. So I'm excited for this week. I think this week will tell us a lot about this football team. I think this is a must-win game for the Seahawks. No offense to the Commanders, but this Commanders team is slipping. They've not been great. At least they do have Jaden Daniels starting this week. He obviously missed last week against the Chiefs. He's back. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing in terms for the Seahawks. I do love playing teams at their best. I think that is great. I don't like injuries. I think if you want to be a good team, you got to beat teams at their best. So praying for backup is not really what I want to do. So I'm hoping Jaden Daniels can go out there and ball out like he normally does, but he is coming off of a hamstring injury, and a hamstring injury that he's had to sit, come back, and then sit again. I don't know if he's going to be. He hasn't been able to get into a rhythm this season. Is really where I was going with this, and I'll be curious to see if he can get into a rhythm here soon. But the Seahawks defense is really good. I expect with Derek Hall also back. Forgot to mention him. I expect them to be able to affect Jaden Daniels in the pocket, and I expect him to be a little rusty. So I think defensively, not having to worry about McLaurin is a huge help. Obviously, he's the best receiver in Washington. He is out again this week. So we'll see there. But truthfully, I think this game favors the Seahawks. It is in Washington, and this Washington team is getting desperate. Obviously, a team that made it to the NFC Championship last year. They are slipping this year. They're 3-4, I believe. Have lost 3 straight, so they need to right that ship and right that ship quickly. So this is a really important game for them as well. I think it's kind of hard to tell who it favors in terms of who needs it more. Obviously, Seattle is 5-2. They're not fighting necessarily for their lives, but this division that Seattle is in is very good. You have the Rams at 5-2, and you have the 49ers at 5-3. The Seahawks have to win in order to stay within the fight for the division. So that's something I'm really going to be paying attention to here. Is if the Seahawks win, I think they put themselves in a better spot for their division. If they lose, it's going to be more tough. This is a really good division. The Rams keep winning. The Seahawks have to face them in 2 weeks. And they're not going to be fully healthy for that. We already know they're not going to have Julian Love. They've got to get wins. They have to beat the Commanders, who they should, and then they have to beat whoever's next. Simple as that. So the Commanders are first. I think they have to win this game. I think Seattle knows they have to win this game if they really want to challenge for the division. The injuries don't matter. They have to go out there and play good football. I would like to see this run game get better. I would like to see coming off the bye. We did some good self-scouting. We figured out what was going wrong, and we've improved upon it. I think that's going to be important. And that's something I really want to focus on is how are we out of the bye? Did we see what was going wrong? Are we going to fix it? Or is it just not fixable? I don't know. They didn't make a move at the deadline like they thought they would. Maybe they're figuring something out in here soon. The deadline is this week on November the 4th. I would expect them to probably make a move. At this point, I don't know. Will they look at receiver with the injuries there? Will they look at safety with Love being out long term? Or will they look elsewhere? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Or will they look at offensive line? Because that's where they've also had some struggles. I'm not sure. I think they'll make a move. I just don't know what it is quite yet. For this game, though, I am going to predict the Seahawks win, despite them being a little shorthanded offensively. I think with how this Commanders defense has been and how slow they are, because I think that's why they haven't been great, is you can just see the play speed isn't there. I think the Seahawks will be able to take advantage of that with how their team's set up, with the tight ends, with JSN, maybe even getting Torrey Horton over the top. I think that'll set up all right. It'll then come down to, can the defense step up and limit it? I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game. I just don't think the Seahawks are going to have the weapons to really run the score up. But I think the defense will do a good job. I'm going to predict the final score as 17-10. I kind of predict this a lot. I think this is fair. I think the Commanders will probably get a touchdown, but I think the defense will hold. Um, and then I think the offense just has to do enough. I think they need to be able to run the football and be able to attack the middle of the field where the Commanders just are the weakest. I hate to say it because I do love Bobby Wagner. Obviously, I got the jersey on. Um, one of my favorite players of all time, but they've got to attack Bobby. They've got to take advantage of his age and his unfortunate regression in speed. He was never the fastest, and now he truly cannot keep up with some of these faster tight ends and some of these receivers coming across the middle. So Seahawks have to take advantage of that, get the offensive going, and then just try to play their style of football, physical, run the ball, play defense, and I think this should be a pretty easy win. So yeah, I'm going 17-10 Seahawks in a pretty low scoring game, all things considered. Well, that does it for us today. Thank y'all for joining. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what your predictions are for this game. Whether you think the Seahawks are going to win or lose. And is this a must win? I would like to hear it. In my opinion, it is. I've heard some other fans say it's really not. For me, I think with how good this division's been, every game right now is kind of a must win game. So let me down below what your thoughts are. And thank you.